Hi, this is Dianne. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I was born September 24th, 1968 at 8 o'clock p.m. To my parents, Joseph and Kathy. Kathleen, actually. Mom left my father when I was 4, and the stepmonster came in. So, for 7 years, 4 months, and 39 days. So, and then he found another woman, and we left St. Louis and came. I left Chicago and came to St. Louis area, to Koki, Illinois, where my uncle was a volunteer fireman, life was different. It was better.
What schools did you go to, Miss Dianne?
I went to one of the top 10 schools in Chicago. I scored so high on my, they're called now is the, I'm trying to think what it was called. It's the Iowa test. I scored no less than second year of high school and no more than second year of college in 6th grade. So they sent me to Sunland Junior High. When I got to Koki, Illinois, we were about 3 to 4 years ahead. I was ahead of them, so I just kind of aced everything so easily, and I kind of worked ahead a little bit. It's like, so I went to Koki High School.
Did you graduate?
No, I did not. My mom was an alcoholic. My stepdad, but my dad. Without him, I wouldn't be here. But only hand that was held out, so he never gave up on me. So he came into our lives when I was 12, and he left almost 13 years ago. So, yeah.
Brothers and sisters?
I had one older sister that was adopted out. I didn't find out until I was 12 that she existed. I was a pretty boxed person, so I didn't meet her. My younger siblings did. I had a younger sister, 2.5 years younger than me, and a younger brother, 7 years and 2 months. I parented them, basically, until one night, Mom beat the hell out of me. It was her punching bag. And I fell out of bedroom window, climbed up and fell out. Tooth through my lip, stitches in the back of my ear. I was beat up pretty bad. So, I never worked the streets. 13 years old, I was a grown-up. I've been a grown-up for a long time, so I lied, and it's like I said I was 16, it's like, and made up a new family. So, changed my name so I wouldn't get caught being a runaway. And I worked stocking shelves under the table, delivered circulars, flyers, anything I could do. It's like I took care of a lady named Evelyn, who was wonderful. She spit nails, but she was so soft on the inside, and I loved her stories. She told me stories off her whatnot shelf. And I stayed with her for about 3 years, took care of her, and then I finally visited home. I was around 16, and while I was gone, she died, and which was very sad for me. It's like, and I went, got my first apartment then on my own. Said I was 18, and I was 16. So here I am. I got jobs. I just changed my last number and my social security number. And it took about 3 weeks to a month to figure out that I wasn't telling the truth. You know what I mean? So, and then they say you made a mistake on your social, and I would say, oh, I'm sorry, and then I said I'll get the right one to you, but do it by next payday. So before next payday, it's like when I put in payroll. So I would forget, so I can give myself an extra 2 weeks, and then it would still take another 3 to 4 weeks before that one would come back, so I'd find another job. I worked at every fast food restaurant there was. I worked everywhere. And on the south side of St. Louis, they had these little markets that you didn't have to have an ID for, cash and checks. So I get my paychecks cash that way. So I went back home for a short period of time. That would never work out. So yeah, but my stepdad, but my dad and I became best friends. My father, Joseph, died when I was 8. He's buried in Oak Lawn Cemetery in Oak Lawn, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. Only person left in Chicago, it's a relative, and I've never seen his grave. But yeah, he left me a note. He had bought 3/5 of Jack Daniels and drank them down to kill himself on his birthday, August 15th, 1978. He was born August 15th, 1941. 41. So Mom was 43, 1943. So, but my dad and I became best friends at 17, and didn't think it mattered. He always called me Kathy's daughter. This is Kathy's daughter, Dianne, not Step. He didn't believe in the word because it's one step out of the family. You say, this is my daughter Chrissy, it's my stepdaughter Dianne. Was wrong because he loved me as much as he loved her, so I guess if I was there. So yeah, so he introduced me to some of his friends one day at Speedway. It's where you get auto parts and stuff. So and he said, I'm so sorry, I want to introduce you, this is my daughter Dianne. And I remember turning and looking at him, and I never thought it mattered, but it did. So that's when we became best friends, so until his death. And that was July 23rd, 2011. So yeah, 13 years ago, or it'd be 13. So, and Mom left a year and 2 months later on Thanksgiving at 7:35 p.m. So she was done the day he died, though. It was true love. They danced every dance. It's the first dance, and Mom quit drinking about the last 12 years, 13 of her life, and all I knew was apology, and everything was good, so, let's see. I always worked really hard. I was a canvasser at 17 for Thomas Construction in our city, Missouri. At 19 and a half years old, I ran the canvassing department. I had 168 canvassers out on the streets knocking on doors. My department brought in like $600,000 to $800,000 a month. I operated at 6.2% because anything under 10 was my bonus. So I worked really hard. I overdid everything. I was always probably running from the past, because I never dealt with it. I just thought I put it away somewhere and everything was okay, but I wasn't. So, let's see.
You ever been married?
I have not.
Children?
I do have one son.
How's your relationship with your child?
Very well. I gave my son 110%. I gave him everything that I didn't get as a child, not monetary, but love and understanding, and I gave him confidence and kisses, and I must have kissed his face 50 times a day instead of 100 times a day. I loved him. I instilled education. At 3, I put him on the computer. At 4, I taught him to read. In first grade, he was doing multiplication and division. Second grade, he read at 8th grade level. He graduated high school 7th in his class out of 566 kids with a 4.228 GPA. He got full scholarships for college. He picked Mizzou, which he'd done years before that. He was looking colleges up at 10 because I told him about this great big place called college. And if he went there, he could be anybody he wanted to be. He can go anywhere he wanted to go in the world, and he can have anything he wanted to have. But he had to earn it. So I had to fight hard to do that. Do better than me, so. He is. He graduated Mizzou with honors on May 19th of 2019. And it was supposed to be his year, so. I was pregnant with my son when I met Dale, his dad, kind of like my dad, same thing. Yeah, I was 2.5 months pregnant. I told him he didn't want to date me, and he said, how about not drinks and dinner? He said, how about we go out for dinner and ice cream? I said, did you not understand what I just said to you a few minutes ago? I'm going to have it's going to be 2 of me in 6.5 months. He goes, why don't we start with ice cream? And we're together 23 years before his death. So, 2019 was supposed to be my son's year, but May 19th he graduated. May 26th we found out Dale had melanoma. A mole on his head was turned cancerous. So May 19th we were diagnosed. May 26th, it was graduation. May 26th he was diagnosed. June 6th I put my son, Dale, and our dog on a plane for Houston, Texas, with $142,000, which worked hard, really hard. But the only thing that could help him was immune therapy, which insurance doesn't cover. So 130 grand of our money went to try to save him, and it was actually working. It was regressing and holding back, but the melanoma is the most deadliest cancer there is. It had gone inward to his liver before it grew on his head. So it camped out at his liver so long that his liver failed. He died the same day my father died, August 15th, 2019. My son was holding his hand at 8:05 p.m. when he died at Houston Hospital. It took my son 2 days to tell me. I had to do it by text because he can't hear me cry because it breaks his heart. So, yeah, vice versa. So, we never married. I never married him. He asked me, but I didn't see a need. A piece of paper and a ring wouldn't prove my love or make infidelity anymore. It's like impossible. But I was faithful to him for 23 years. I loved him. A piece of paper was never going to tell me anything different. So I thought going in debt I never dreamed of a wedding in colors. I dreamed of happiness, so we had that. But had I known that his sister was going to do what she did, so I got Dale back in a box this big 6 days after he died. On the 7th day, I came home from work, and there was a court order on my door that said I couldn't enter my own house that I lived in for 23 years. We paid off 14 and a half years early. And if I called the police, I'm not stupid by any means, but she said, no, you're correct. I said, what happens if I enter? And she said, it's breaking and entering at this point, and you'll be arrested. And I cried in her arms, and she cried with me on my porch. She said, this is so wrong. I said, I know. So the rest of the money that was left over, my son was still in Houston. I called him and I asked him if he was going to come home. He goes, Mom, you said there's no home to come home to. We're going to lose because common law marriage only covers monies. So the house was going to be taken, which I loved. We lived in Benton, Missouri. We made it our dream house. We did all the work. We never took out a loan. We redid every room. We put 3-room additions on there. Last room we had was kitchen. I had my dream kitchen that I had gotten tile years ago. It was on sale. It was beautiful, but I only got to enjoy it for about 6 months. So, the judge ordered that I could clean the house out, and told her that God don't like ugly for what she was doing to me, and that she would pay in the end. It's not good enough for me now, but because if those walls could talk, it was a beautiful place. And I raised my son, and I had ovarian cancer at 31. At 32, I had to have a hysterectomy, so my son was an only child. He wanted siblings, so I was the kid house. I had 7 or 8 little boys running around that house, and I loved every second of it. I didn't babysit for monetary, for money. I did it for, I love the sound of children laughing, and maybe I was living my childhood I never got through that time, maybe. And I just made it fun and learning and everything it should have been for me, I guess, so. And my son loved it because they were all his brothers, no matter what, so. And they're all still friends, and they all went to college because I made sure they all had the same thoughts my son did, and I tutored them, and I told them what they could be. And yeah, a couple parents, we even tried to pull two of the kids back from going, and they came to me, and I told them, don't listen. Do what you need to do, and don't mess this up. One was going in the Air Force, actually, and he went, so, yeah.
Do you have any ways you can be contacted if people want to reach out to you and share resources? Do you have social media? Do you have Cash App? You never know who may want to reach out and contact you and share.
Yeah, I don't really. My phone was stolen, and yeah, so yeah, it's like everything was kind of taken from me, I guess. The judge ordered I can clean the house out, but I never entered the house again. I took a truck out there. She wouldn't answer the phone. She had an estate sale and sold everything I owned, and I never saw anything personal again. My parents' ashes, my sister Sherry, my older sister, I finally let her into my life when I was 28 after I had my son, because my son taught me more than I ever taught him. He taught me what love was. And my box I opened it up, sure, and she was the other half of me. She was murdered 3 years later by her husband. So I lost her, but I don't even have a picture of my sister, because everything's gone. Everything that I've ever owned is gone. 3 weeks after he died, my truck broke down. I lost my job. My Social Security card and birth certificate were in the house, so I had to come down here and do what I do for a living now. So
what do you do for a living now?
I'm on a street corner.
If you could talk to a young Miss Dianne, and knowing what you know today, if you can go back in time and talk to her, what would you tell her?
To marry the love of her life. I was a heroin addict after I had my son.
Who introduced you to that?
This girl, Layla. And she didn't know anything was wrong, but the day I had my son, it was the best day of my life, don't get me wrong, but it was the worst, because I knew what unconditional love was. I would have died for this little boy I never met before, and I actually said it. If God had, my sister said it, I said it. God came down and said that you were him, I would take my last breath and say I love you too, and leave and die for you. I don't remember it because I was in 48 hours and 46 minutes of labor with no drugs, and I didn't even put an aspirin in my body during my pregnancy. Yeah, I was on bed rest with him, so I wouldn't lose him. I had 2 stillborn sons and 3 miscarriages due to the soft cervix. They finally figured it out. So it was either sew my cervix shut or bed rest. I opted bed rest. And it came out perfect. It was so beautiful. But that moment when I saw him, and I was overwhelmed. I do remember this part. I remember turning and seeing my mother and realizing my mother never loved me like that. That was the one thing I made excuses for, always excuses for my mother. And it was like my world all the past came crashing back. against me, everything that happened. She was the one that created it. She's the one that stayed with the step monster that beat me and verbally abused me, etc. for 7 years, 4 months, and 39 days. She's the one that she took who I was supposed to be. You know, it's like, and if it wasn't for that little boy right there, I wouldn't have known what love was, you know. Thank God for him. So, 6 months later, I became a heroin addict by accident. It was a drug of my choice. I was completely numb. My subconscious wasn't telling my conscious brain jack shit anymore, you know, so I was numb. I didn't hurt anymore, I didn't feel. For 3 years, 3 months, and 21 days, I was a heroin addict. Until I looked in the mirror on October 11th, 1999, and I had an aha moment because I didn't know who the girl in the mirror was. Not because I looked any different, I looked the same, but I didn't. I remember touching the mirror and I didn't know who she was, literally. And then I didn't understand, and I realized what was missing was the light in my eyes, the smile on my face, just sadness. And I was empty. I was a shell of a person. I had achieved just what I wanted to do. And I hated her. Because that's not who I was, you know. I wanted whoever I used to be back. Because I hated being in that heroin haze, you know.
How long have you been sober? Or is it up and down?
No, 24 years. 24 years I have not touched one opiate. I'm very proud of it. October 11th will be 25, a quarter of a century. Only 1% of all heroin addicts ever get clean, and I am 1%. I'm so proud of it. I didn't go to rehab. I rehabbed at home. 41 days of hell. I came off of $400 a night. A night, this is why I say a night, because I whipped it up in my coffee grinder, black tar with Dorman, and stored $400 a night. And I did 90 milligrams of methadone. It would have never been enough. I never shot dope because we wouldn't be having this conversation. It would have never been enough. And yeah, I worked every day. I was a closeted heroin addict. How I pulled it off, I was room of the year for 3 years. I literally did everything perfect. But then I was completely numb. I just did enough to get by during the day. My son never saw me high. Never anything. My time was from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. And that's, my son got up every morning at 7 a.m. and it's time to start life again, right? And not let him see who I really was.
How does it feel being clean?
It feels so good. I call them Fetty zombies. And it's getting worse and worse. Just I'm watching it grow and grow. They think the pandemic was bad. This epidemic is unstoppable. It is unstoppable. And you're gonna see them everywhere. You know, it's like, I never stole anything to get high. I never sold anything, never pawned anything or anything. It doesn't mean I wasn't an addict, but these people, they do. And it's gonna be a growing problem throughout the world, you know what I mean? And somebody needs to stop it. And you know, the Emperor of China years ago, I don't know if anybody knows the story, but he literally killed 1.5 million of his own people due to same thing as heroin. You know, it's like opioids. Okay, they smoked it in the opiate dens basically, and he watched it grow and grow and grow, and he knew he couldn't get them clean because he couldn't get them clean, right? So he put them in front of firing squads and put them in mass graves. 1.5 million people died to stop his country from going under. And that's probably the only thing he could do. I mean, I understand. You know, I'm 1% of the whole world that gets clean, okay? I'm 1%. That's That's so horrible. Think how low the numbers will be as this grows. Something needs to be done. You know what I mean? It needs to be stopped. Because I'm watching good people die in front of me. And I've watched down in this area. The last 4.5 years I've been here, at least 60 people have died. A couple of people that I cared about, very much so. They were very good people. They were just broken. Broken the same way I was. See, I didn't go to rehab. And the 42nd day when I finally felt better, because I hold it in my system 3 times as long as anybody else, I called a therapist. Got to fix the broken here. Not to put that Band-Aid on your arm for a wound that won't heal. And you keep putting Band-Aids on it. Band-Aids is the drug. The drug is a Band-Aid. It's not going to fix it. It's going to take everything from you. It'll take monetary things, take your family, take your friends. And you're lucky if you escape with your life. So, I will. You know, it's like, yeah. But most of these people out here won't. It won't. It'll never be enough.
In closing, Miss Dianne, if you want to say anything to anybody who may be looking for you, may be worried about you, wondering if you're okay, now's the time you can say whatever you want to say to them in closing.
Oh, I don't think there's anybody looking for me. So, yeah. My son's in Dallas, Texas. He never came home. There's no home to come to. So, I'm in North St. Louis, Grand Avenue and West Florissant. You know?
We appreciate you taking time out with us, Miss Dianne. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope my story helps someone.
Yes, ma'am.